Hola! Hola, mi amigos! Hey, Julia, Bucky was first. This one's a real banger. Hey, Alex, HKEB, Livy. Welcome, Jenny Cope. Second time on the feed. Hello, welcome. It's like a video game version of Harry Potter. Sarah Popta! Kat Grabowski. Kat Grabowski. Grabowski. That was pretty fun. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Conk's Corner, where I'm reading Harry Potter every day for an hour to just have fun together, to get distracted, and for me to read through this series for the very first time ever. Never read it before. Only seen 2 of the movies. Don't remember anything from them. But I'm sure people who are tuning in already know this. Instagram is doing something new now. I cannot save the live feeds onto my feed anymore. I have to save them as a separate full video onto Instagram TV. The problem is I can't actually read your comments anymore. Afterwards, the comments aren't saved. So I can't, that really sucks. So I can't go through and read your responses to different things or anything you're saying between each other. So, but you know, this is just an interim thing. If you want to say something or have questions to ask, or just anything you want to say, remember to put them into the little question card at the bottom there, because yeah, I that's the only way I'll be able to read it. But like I said, I'm working on a new streaming thing. I will be able to. I think in 1 or 2 weeks be able to use this other program that streams to multiple places and also saves the feeds into one thing. So I'll be able to read them a bit later. But right now, unfortunately, I can't read what you're writing unless I look up in the middle and don't read the book. So it kind of sucks. But oh well, that's just how it is going to be for about a week or 2. That's how it's going to be. What else is there? Thank you, healthcare workers. Thank you. You're awesome. You rock. I save all these on YouTube, so you can catch up there. Other than that, let's just take off and do this, shall we? If you want to, actually, oh no, where are my other markers? Tomorrow I'll do a couple together. Here we go. Let's draw it on. Whoa, and then way over here, and then up. That's the greatest scar yet. And the glasses, and here we go. Dexter was just there. Where'd you run off to again, boy? Oh, hang on. I'll pick up his whole cot. Maybe he'll stay up there if I pick up his whole cot. Here's the little monster. Here he is. There he is, just following along. Hey, buddy. There you go. There you go. I think you can see him there, right? Somewhat. Oh, let's just get started. Okay, so last time they had a little gossip sesh with Sirius about Mr. Crouch, Bagman, and that chapter was basically them theorizing. He's just down again. Them theorizing about what's happening, just like we would. He didn't reveal too much new, right? I don't think there was a lot new revealed, except for Crouch's past. Oh, by the way, that's Mark over there. Mark is joining in every single time. They revealed Mr. Crouch's past about his son. You know, how cruel he was about his son being a Death Eater and letting him die, and then his wife dying of grief. That was heavy. But other than that, they were they were just talking about what could possibly be. Why is he trying to follow Snape? And all the questions we've been asking alongside too. So I hope we discover more, and of course we will. Of course we'll discover more of this chapter. Page 465, if you want to follow along this book. We're going to start with chapter 28, The Madness of Mr. Crouch. Why is John's lamp on the floor? Is that a German thing? No, I'm playing around with lighting different things for coming up. Basically, I'm waiting for my computer that I ordered to arrive because I can't stream very well with my current Mac. It's a bit old. So I ordered a new computer, and so I'm waiting for that to arrive before I can make everything else work. Here we go. Harry, Ron, and Hermione, the Golden Trifecta, went up to the Owlery after breakfast on Sunday to send a letter to Percy asking, as Sirius had suggested, whether he had seen Mr. Crouch lately. They used Hedwig because it had been so long since she'd had a job. When they had watched her out of sight through the owlery window, they proceeded down to the kitchen to give Dobby his new socks. Nice. The house elves gave them a very cheery welcome, bowing and curtsying and bustling around, making tea again. Dobby was ecstatic about his presents. "Harry Potter is too good to Dobby!" he squeaked, wiping large tears out of his enormous eyes. "You saved my life with that gillyweed, Dobby. You really did," said Harry. No chance of more of those eclairs, is there?" said Ron, who was looking around at the beaming and bowing house elves. "You've just had breakfast," said Hermione irritably. But a great silver... I feel like in that group, I would be Ron, for sure. Who would you be?
I'm not sure. Maybe a hybrid between Ron and Hermione.
Ron and Hermione. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I'd be full-on Ron, for sure. "You've just had breakfast," said Hermione irritably, but a great silver platter of eclairs was already zooming towards them, supported by 4 elves. "We should get some stuff to send up to Snuffles," Harry muttered. "Good idea," said Ron. "Give pigs something to do. You couldn't give us a bit of extra food, could you?" he said to the surrounding elves, and they bowed delightedly and hurried off to get some more. "Dobby, where's Winky?" said Hermione, who was looking around. "Winky is over there by the fire, miss," said Dobby quietly, his ears drooping slightly. "Oh dear," said Hermione, as she spotted Winky. Harry looked over at the fireplace too. Winky was sitting on the same stool as last time, but she had allowed herself to become so filthy that she was not immediately distinguishable from the smoke-blackened brick behind her. Her clothes were ragged and unwashed. She was clutching a bottle of butterbeer and swaying slightly on her stool, staring into the fire. As they watched her... Oh, he's back, just not in his cot. As they watched her, she gave an enormous hiccup. "Winky is getting through 6 bottles a day now," Dobby whispered to Harry. "Is she becoming a mini alcoholic?" I don't know if there's a thing as a mini alcoholic. You're just an alcoholic or you're not, I guess. Well, it's not strong, that stuff, Harry said, but Dobby shook his head. "'Tis strong for a house elf, sir," he said. Winky hiccuped again. The elves who had brought the eclairs gave her disapproving looks as they returned to work. "Winky is pining, Harry Potter," Dobby whispered sadly. "Winky wants to go home. Winky still thinks Mr. Crouch is her master, sir, and nothing Dobby says will persuade her that Professor Dumbledore is her master now." "Hey, Winky," said Harry, struck by a sudden inspiration, walking over and bending down to speak to her. "You don't know what Mr. Crouch might be up to, do you? Because he stopped turning up to judge the Triwizard Tournament." Winky's eyes flickered. Her enormous pupils focused on Harry. She swayed slightly again and then said, "Master is stopped coming." That voice. "Yeah," said Harry. "We haven't seen him since the first task. The Daily Prophet's saying he's ill." Winky swayed some more. Oh yeah, drunk Winky. Winky swayed some more, staring blurrily at Harry. "Master ill? You want a kiss?" Her bottom lip began to tremble. "But we're not sure if that's true," said Hermione quickly. "Master is needing his Winky," whimpered the elf. "Master cannot manage all by himself." Other people manage to do their own housework, you know, Winky," said Hermione severely. "Winky is not only doing housework for Mr. Crouch," Winky squeaked indignantly, swaying worse than ever and slopping butterbeer down her heavily stained blouse. "Master is trusting Winky with the most important, the most secret..." "What?" said Harry. But Winky shook her head very hard, spilling more butterbeer down herself. "Winky gives her master secrets," she said mutinously. What's that word?
Mutinously?
Mutinously. Mutiny? But why would she say mutinously?
I don't know.
Ha! Maybe one of you genius people can tell us. Please. Winky hit rock bottom. For sure. Mutinously, where is it? She said mutinously, swaying very heavily now, frowning up at Harry with her eyes crossed. You is noticing you is.
What?
She's drunk. Winky must not talk like that to Harry Potter, said Dobby angrily. Harry Potter is brave and noble, and Harry Potter is not nosy. He is nosing into my master's private and secret. Winky is a good house elf. Winky keeps her silence. People trying to pry and poke. Winky's eyelids drooped, and suddenly, without warning, she slid off her stool onto the hearth, snoring loudly. The empty bottle of butterbeer rolled away across the stone-flagged floor. Half a dozen house elves came hurrying forward, looking disgusted. Oh! Like rudely rather than rude. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Half a dozen house elves came hurrying forward, looking disgusted. One of them picked up the bottle. The others covered Winky with a large checked tablecloth and tucked the ends in neatly, hiding her from view. Oh, that's funny. They're also ashamed of her. Nearby elf. We're sorry you had to say that, sirs and miss, squeaked a nearby elf, shaking his head and looking very ashamed. We is hoping you will not judge us all by Winky, sirs and miss. She's unhappy, said Hermione, exasperated. Why don't you try and cheer her up instead of covering her up? Begging your pardon, miss, said the house elf, bowing deeply again, but house elves has no right to be unhappy when there is no work to be done and masters to be served. Oh, for heaven's sake, said Hermione angrily. Listen to me, all of you. You've got just as much right as wizards to be unhappy. You've got the right to wages and holidays and proper clothes. You don't have to do everything you're told. Look at Dobby. Miss Wood, please keep Dobby out of this, Dobby mumbled, looking scared. The cheery smiles had vanished from the faces of the house elves around the kitchen. They were suddenly looking at Hermione as though she was mad and dangerous. Another elf. We have your extra feed, squeaked an elf at Harry's elbow, and he shoved a large ham, a dozen cakes, and some fruit into Harry's arm. Goodbye! The house elves crowded around Harry, Ron, and Hermione and began shunting them out of the kitchen, many little hands pushing in the smalls of their backs. I don't like that. I don't like a lot of little hands pushing your back. I don't like that at all. Imagine you just having to go somewhere with little hands are like pushing you all over. Man, I've gone so long without a haircut. My hair's getting so long. Wait. Let's see what the longest hair is up to. What are you up to, hair? Crazy. Who else is needing an haircut? Cheers.
I cut my own.
Mm-hmm. You can tell. Kidding. Let's see. Pushing into the smalls of their backs. Thank you for the socks, Harry Potter, Dobby called miserably from the hearth? Where he was standing next to the lumpy tablecloth that was Winky. You couldn't keep your mouth shut, could you, Hermione? Said Ron angrily, as the kitchen door slammed shut behind them. They won't want us visiting them now. We could have tried to get more stuff out of Winky about Crouch. Oh, as if you care about that, scored Hermione. You only like coming down here for the food. It was an irritable sort of day after that. Harry got so tired of Ron and Hermione sniping at each other over their homework in the common room that he took serious food up to the owlery that evening on his own. Pigwidgeon was much too small to carry an entire ham up to the mountain by himself, so Harry enlisted the help of 2 school screech owls as well. When they had set off into the dusk, looking extremely odd carrying the large package between them, Harry leaned on the windowsill, looking out at the grounds, at the dark, rustling treetops of the forbidden forest, and the rippling sails of the Durmstrang ship. Oh, yeah, I keep on forgetting that there's this huge ship right next door. It makes the elves seem like they're in a cult. Totally does. Yeah. Have you? Wait, like have you shed of your blood yet? Not yet, but I've drunk the juice. An eagle owl flew through the coil of smoke rising from Hagrid's chimney. It soared towards the castle, around the owlery, and out of sight. Looking down, Harry saw Hagrid digging energetically in front of his cabin. Harry wondered what he was doing. It looked as though he was making a new vegetable patch. As he watched, Madame Maxine emerged from the Beauxbatons' carriage and walked over to Hagrid. Hagrid's trying to bury a body, for sure. He's got some dark secrets. She appeared to be trying to engage him in conversation. Hagrid leant upon his spade, but did not seem keen to prolong their talk, because Madame Maxine returned to the carriage shortly afterwards. Yeah, you show her. Unwilling to go back to Gryffindor Tower and listen to Ron and Hermione snarling at each other, Harry watched Hagrid digging until the darkness swallowed him, and the owls around Harry began to awake, swooshing past him into the night. What would he be trying to bury? What kind of items have popped up from there? Just the Goblet of Fire. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know what else. Do you have any guess?
No.
What he might be burying? One of the many children that have died at Hogwarts, probably.
Got to bury the evidence. Dumbledore doesn't want them seen.
Here's a little pause. I did a podcast interview today that's coming out sometime in July, but we talked about the fear of missing out. So, question for you: what is something that now there's not much to miss out on because not much is happening, but in regular life, what is something that you have a fear of missing out on? For me, and somebody on YouTube made a comment and said, "Hey, you should be answering these questions yourself," and I agree. So I'll be answering them when I ask them or at the very end. But for me, it's always when people are having fun. I like events, I like activities, and so I'm like, oh man, I want to be there when I can't be there, so I always have that. That's my fear of missing out. By breakfast next day, Ron and Hermione's bad moods had burnt out, and to Harry's relief, Ron's dark predictions, or premonitions, that the house elves would send substandard food up to the Gryffindor table because Hermione had insulted them proved false. The bacon, egg, and kippers were quite as good as usual. When the post owls arrived, you know what I kind of find cool about these books is that in every book she expands just the world of Hogwarts. There's always like another layer somewhere. Like there's mer people living in the waters. There's this whole world of sub-slaves who love being slaves down at the bottom making all the food. There's a whole ghost world. She always reveals another layer of Hogwarts, which is pretty cool. I like that. When the post owls arrived, Hermione looked up eagerly. She seemed to be expecting something. Percy won't have had time to answer yet, said Ron. We only sent Hedwig yesterday. No, it's not that, said Hermione. I've taken out a new subscription to the Daily Prophet. I'm getting sick of finding everything out from the Slytherins. Good thinking, said Harry, also looking up at the owls. Hey, Hermione, I think you're a nuck. A grey owl was soaring down towards Hermione. It hasn't got a newspaper, though, she said, looking disappointed. But to her bewilderment, the grey owl landed in front of her. A plate, closely followed by four barn owls, a brown owl and a tawny. How many subscriptions did you take out? Said Harry, seizing Hermione's goblet before it was knocked over by the cluster of owls, all of whom were jostling close to her, trying to deliver their own letter first. What on earth? Hermione said, taking the letter from the grey owl, opening it and starting to read. Oh, really? She spluttered, going rather red. What's up? Said Ron. Oh, How ridiculous! She thrust the letter at Harry, who saw that it was not handwritten, but composed from pasted letters that seemed to have been cut out from the Daily Prophet. You are a wicked girl. Harry Potter deserves better. Go back where you came from, Muggle. Oh, who... My premonition is that it's Crumb. Crumb wrote that. No.
Why would Crumb write that?
Because he feels rejected. He feels rejected by her. Maybe. Either Crumb or... Yeah, I think it's Crumb. They're all like it, said Hermione desperately, opening one letter after another. Harry Potter can do much better than the likes of you. Oh, okay, so it's just a whole bunch of different people. Well, you know, it could have been Crumb, and so I'm still right. It's too close to the premonition for me to try and justify it. You deserve to be boiled in frog spawn. Ouch! She had opened the last envelope, and yellowish-green liquid smelling strongly of petrol gushed over her hands, which began to erupt in large yellow boils. Oh my gosh! Undiluted boba pus. Actually, you know what? It's like the 5-second rule. If it didn't go on long enough, it doesn't count, so I'm sorry. It still worked out in my favor.
So petty.
Undiluted boba pus, said Ron, picking up the envelope gingerly and sniffing it. Ow! Said Hermione, tears starting in her eyes. That is such a mean letter. Holy smokes. Ow! Said Hermione, tears starting in her eyes as she tried to rub it off her hands with a napkin. But her fingers were now so thickly covered in painful sores that it looked as though she was wearing a pair of thick, knobbly gloves. You'd better get up to the hospital wing, said Harry, as the owls around Hermione took flight. We'll tell Professor Sprout where you've gone. I warned her, said Ron, as Hermione hurried out of the great hall, cradling her hands. I warned her not to annoy Rita Skeeter. Look at this one. He read out one of the letters Hermione had left behind. So this is the letter right now. I read in Witch Weekly about how you're playing Harry Potter false, and that boy has had enough hardship, and I will be sending you a curse by next post as soon as I can find a big enough envelope. Blimey, she'd better watch out for herself. He's worried. Hermione didn't turn up for herbology. As Harry and Ron left the greenhouse for their Care of Magical Creatures class, they saw Malfoy. You know what? I'm actually going to try something. Sometimes when I'm working here at the table, I do this. So let's see if Dex will be down for this. Come on. Come here, buddy. Come here, bud. Maybe I could put him right here while I'm reading. Let's try that, shall we? Hey? Let's see how he likes that. Where are we? Hermione didn't turn up for herbology. As Harry and Ron left the greenhouse for their Care of Magical Creatures class, they saw Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyelle descending the stone steps from the castle. Pansy Parkinson was whispering and giggling behind them. Oh, yeah, he's cool. He's cool with it. It's okay to admit when you're wrong, John. Absolutely, Jenny. Absolutely, I'll admit when I'm wrong.
No, you don't.
I will. When I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I know it's okay.
You've been wrong many times.
You know, just gotta prove it to me. You know, just prove it. Send those videos to me, and I'll, just review the tapes, and you'll see. Pansy Parkinson was whispering and giggling behind them with her gang of Slytherin girls. Catching sight of Harry, Pansy called. Pansy Parkinson. Pansy Parkinson. Potter, have you split up with your girlfriend? Why was she so upset at breakfast? Harry ignored her. He didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing how much trouble the Witch Weekly article had caused. Hagrid, who had told them last lesson that they had finished with unicorns, was waiting for them outside his cabin, with a fresh supply of open crates at his feet. Harry's heart sank at the sight of the crates. Surely not another Scroot hatching. But when he got near enough to see inside, he found himself looking at a number of fluffy black creatures with long snouts. Their front paws were curiously flat, like spades, and they were blinking up at the class, looking politely puzzled at all the attention. Okay, what do they look like? Fluffy black creatures with long snouts, front paws very flat, like spades. Okay, interesting creatures. Don't gaslight us. I'm not. I really am not.
These are nifflers,
said Hagrid, when the class had gathered around.
You find them down mines mostly. They like sparkly stuff. There you go. Look.
One of the nifflers had suddenly leapt up and attempted to bite Pansy Parkinson's watch off her wrist. She shrieked and jumped backwards.
Useful little treasure detectors.
I don't know what's up with them.
Useful little treasure detectors, said Hagrid happily. Thought we'd have some fun with them today. See over there?
He pointed at the large patch of freshly turned earth Harry had watched him digging from the owlery window. Oh, okay, so he's preparing for the class.
I've buried some gold coins. I've got a prize for whoever picks the niffler that digs up most. Just take off all your valuables and choose a niffler and get ready to set 'em loose.
Harry took off his watch, which he was only wearing out of habit, as it didn't work anymore, and stuffed it into his pocket. Then he picked up a niffler. It put its long snout in Harry's ear and sniffed enthusiastically. It was really quite cuddly.
Hang on,
said Hagrid, looking down into the crate.
There's a spare niffler here. Who's missing? Oh, where's Hermione?
She had to go to the hospital wing. Nope, he's also not digging that. He's just had a restless dog lately, I guess. Restless dog. Here, there you go. There you go, buddy. Boom. Who knows? He just wants to go everywhere and anywhere. I forget nifflers were in this book. Okay, nifflers. She had to go to the hospital wing. We'll explain later, Harry muttered. Pansy Parkinson was listening. It was easily the most fun they ever had in care of magical creatures. The nifflers dived in and out of the patch of earth as though it was water, each scurrying back to the student who had released it and spitting gold into their hands. Ron's was particularly efficient. It had soon filled his lap with coins. Can you buy these as pets, Hagrid? He asked excitedly, as his niffler dived back into the soil, splattering his robes.
Your mum wouldn't be happy, Ron, said Hagrid, grinning. They wreck houses, nifflers. I reckon they've nearly got the lot now,
he added, pacing around the patch of earth, while the nifflers continued to dive.
I only buried 100 coins. Oh, there you are, Hermione.
Hermione was walking towards them across the lawn. Her hands were heavily bandaged, and she looked miserable. Pansy Parkinson was watching her beadily.
Well, let's check how you've done, said Hagrid. Count your coins, and there's no point trying to steal any, Goyle, he added, his beetle black eyes narrowed. It's leprechaun gold. Vanishes after a few hours.
Goyle, I almost said his name wrong. I said Goyle. Wow. I gotta watch my P's and Q's, and my Goyelles and Goyles. Goyelle emptied his pockets, looking extremely sulky. It turned out that Ron's niffler had been most successful, so Hagrid gave him an enormous slab of Honey Duke's chocolate for a prize. The bell rang across the grounds for lunch. The rest of the class set off back to the castle, but Harry, Ron, and Hermione stayed behind to help Hagrid put the nifflers back in their boxes. Harry noticed Madame Maxine watching them out of her carriage window. Say hi to Michael Amar. Hi, Michael Amar. Hello. I don't know why, but hi. Goyle honestly sounds wrong now. It's because it's always been wrong. Goyelle has always been right.
What you done to your hands, Hermione?
Said Hagrid, looking concerned. Hermione told him about the hate mail she had received that morning, and the envelope full of Botuber pus.
Oh, don't worry,
said Hagrid gently, looking down at her.
I got some of those letters and all, after Rita Skeeter wrote about my mum. You're a monster and you should be put down. Your mother killed innocent people, and if you had any decency, you'd jump in a lake.
No, said Hermione, looking shocked.
Yeah, said Hagrid, leaving the niffler crates over by his cabin wall. They're just nutters, Hermione. Don't open them if you get any more. Chuck them straight in the fire.
You missed a really good lesson, Harry told Hermione, as they headed back towards the castle. They're good, Nifflers, aren't they, Ron? Ron, however, was frowning at the chocolate Hagrid had given him. He looked thoroughly put out about something. What I think is cute that John thinks all these comments are to him. Bless is wee soul? Do you mean W-E-E, Tash? I think that's going to bother you now, that you wrote W-E instead of W-E-E. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Ron, however, was frowning at the chocolate Hagrid had given him. He looked thoroughly put out about something.
What's the matter?
No, what's the matter? Said Harry. Wrong flavour? No, said Ron shortly. Why didn't you tell me about the gold? What's gold? Said Harry. The gold I gave you at the Quidditch World Cup, said Ron. The leprechaun gold I gave you for my omnioculars in the top box. Why didn't you tell me it disappeared? Harry had to think for a moment before he realized what Ron was talking about. Oh, he said, the memory coming back to him at last. I don't know. I never noticed it had gone. I was more worried about my wand, wasn't I? They climbed the steps into the entrance hall and went into the great hall for lunch. Must be nice, Ron said abruptly, when they had sat down and started serving themselves roast beef and Yorkshire puddings. To have so much money you don't notice if a pocket full of galleons goes missing. Listen, I had other stuff on my mind that night, said Harry impatiently. We all did, remember? I didn't know leprechaun gold vanishes, Ron muttered. I thought I was paying you back. You shouldn't have given me that Chudley cannon hat for Christmas. Forget it, all right, said Harry. Ron speared a roast potato on the end of his fork, glaring at it. Then he said, I hate being poor. Harry and Hermione looked at each other. Neither of them really knew what to say. It's rubbish, said Ron, still glaring down at his potato. I don't blame Fred and George for trying to make some extra money. Wish I could. Wish I had a niffler. Well, we know what to get you next Christmas, said Hermione brightly. Then, when Ron continued to look gloomy, she said, Come on, Ron. It could be worse. At least your fingers aren't full of pus. Hermione was having a lot of difficulty managing her knife and fork. Her fingers were so stiff and swollen. I hate that Skeeter woman, she burst out savagely. I'll get her back for this if it's the last thing I do. I cannot wait what she does. Sponge! I mean sponge. Sponge.
Spoonge.
I don't know why you wrote that, Nathan. I'm not gonna say that. Okay, poor Ron. I hate being poor. Yeah, that's I didn't grow up in a rich environment either, so I can, well, growing up, at least when you start comparing yourselves, I don't think I was around a lot of rich kids in high school or anything like. At least I didn't notice, except for maybe one person. I was like, whoa, this is your house. So that was pretty amazing, but it was more like psyched about it rather than feeling jealous or bad about myself. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Hate mail continued to arrive for Hermione over the following week, and although she followed Hagrid's advice and stopped opening it, several of her ill-wishers sent howlers, oh that sucks, which exploded at the Gryffindor table and shrieked insults at her for the whole hall to hear. Ow! Even those people who didn't read Witch Weekly knew all about the supposed Harry, Crumb, Hermione triangle now. It's called the Golden Trifecta. Harry was getting sick of telling people that Hermione wasn't his girlfriend. It'll die down, though, he told Hermione, if we just ignore it. People get bored with that stuff she wrote about me last time. I want to know how she's listening into private conversations when she's supposed to be banned from the grounds, said Hermione angrily. Hermione hung back in their next defense against the dark arts lesson to ask Professor Moody something. The rest of the class were very eager to leave. Moody had given them such a rigorous test of hex deflection that many of them were nursing small injuries. Harry had such a bad case of, I feel it's more like a military school. It feels like a military school rather than a regular school. They got like military methods. You get hurt if you don't do well. The rest of the class were very eager to leave. Moody had given them Harry had such a bad case of twitchy ears, he had to hold his hands clamped over them as he walked away from the class. Twitchy ears? Okay, they just twitch. Well, Rita's definitely not using an invisibility cloak, Hermione panted 5 minutes later, catching up with Harry and Ron in the entrance hall, and pulling Harry's hand away from one of his wiggling ears so that he could hear. Moody says he didn't see her anywhere near the judge's table at the second task, or anywhere near the lake. What did Sarah say? That everybody's commenting on. Writing comments so Nathan's disappear. Nice, Sarah. Hermione, is there any point telling you to drop this? Said Ron. No, said Hermione stubbornly. I want to know how she heard me talking to Victor, and how she found out about Hagrid's mum. Maybe she had you bugged, said Harry. Bugged? Said Ron blankly. What? Put fleas on her or something? Harry started explaining about hidden microphones and recording equipment. Ron was fascinated, but Hermione interrupted them. Aren't you two ever going to read Hogwarts a history? What's the point? Said Ron. You know it went off by heart. No. You know it off by heart. We can just ask you. All those substitutes for magic bubbles. All those substitutes for magic muggles' use. Electricity and computers and radar and all those things. They all go haywire around Hogwarts. There's too much magic in the air. No. Rita's using magic to eavesdrop. She must be. If I could just find out what it is. Ooh, if it's illegal, I'll have her... Haven't we got enough to worry about? Ron asked her. Do we have to start a vendetta against Rita Skeet as well? I'm not asking you to help, Hermione snapped. I'll do it on my own. When she's determined, she is determined. Man. She marched back up the marble staircase without a backward glance. Harry was quite sure she was going to the library. What's the betting she comes back with a box of I Hate Rita Skeeter badges, said Ron. Hermione, however, did not ask Harry and Ron to help her pursue vengeance against Rita Skeeter, for which they were both grateful, because their workload was mounting ever higher in the run-up to the Easter holidays. Harry, frankly, marveled at the fact that Hermione could research magical methods of eavesdropping as well as everything else they had to do. He was working flat out just to get through all their homework, though he made a point of sending regular food packages up to the cave in the mountain for Sirius. After last summer, he had not forgotten what it felt like to be continually hungry. He enclosed notes to Sirius, telling him that nothing out of the ordinary had happened, and that they were still waiting for an answer from Percy. Hedwig didn't return until the end of the Easter holidays. Percy's letter was enclosed in a package of Easter eggs that Mr. Weasley had sent. Both Harry's and Ron's were the size of dragon eggs and full of homemade toffee. You kidding me? I want a piece of that. Hermione's, however, was smaller than a chicken's egg. Her face fell when she saw it. Your mum doesn't read Witch Weekly, by any chance? Does she, Ron? She asked quietly. Yeah, said Ron, whose mouth was full of toffee. Gets it for the recipes. Hermione looked sadly at her tiny egg. Don't you want to see what Percy's written? Harry asked her hastily. Percy's letter was short and irritable. Percy's letter was short and irritable. As I am constantly telling the Daily Prophet, Mr. Crouch is taking a well-deserved break. He is sending in regular owls with instructions. No, I haven't actually seen him, but I think I can be trusted to know my own superior's handwriting. I have quite enough to do at the moment without trying to quash these ridiculous rumors. Please don't bother me again, unless it's something important. Happy Easter. I don't know, the only redempting quality he's had is running into the water to check to make sure that Ron's okay. That's the only redeeming quality that I've seen so far out of Percy. I'm sure he'll have some others, but right now, don't like him very much. What's a question? You got any question we can throw at them?
Up till now, what is the craziest thing you've ever done?
Oh, I like that one. What is the craziest thing you've ever done? If you haven't heard that from, if you didn't hear that, what is that? English. English is failing me today. These are bullets. I just thought it was so funny, so I bought these chilling bullets. Because I love guns. Yeah, let's get some guns to everybody. Not really. Yeah, they're just fun. Percy's mood is twat. Are those bullets? Conk's corner when hiking on a glacier island. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, gosh. The start of the summer term would normally have meant that Harry was training hard for the last Quidditch match of the season. This year, however, it was the third and final task in the Triwizard Tournament, for which he needed to prepare. But he still didn't know what he would have to do. Phew. Finally, in the last week of May, Professor McGonagall held him back in Transfiguration. You are going to go down to the Quidditch pitch tonight at 9 o'clock, Potter, she told him. Mr. Bagman will be there to tell the champions about the third task. So at 8:30 that night, Harry left Ron and Hermione in Gryffindor Tower and went downstairs. As he crossed the entrance hall, Cedric came up from the Hufflepuff common room. What do you reckon it's going to be? He asked Harry, as they went together down the stone steps, out into the cloudy night. Fleur keeps going on about underground tunnels. She reckons we've got to find treasure. That wouldn't be too bad, said Harry, thinking that he would simply ask Hagrid for a Niffler to do the job. They walked down the dark lawn to the Quidditch stadium, turned through a gap in the stands, and walked out onto the pitch. Hello, welcome all the best people, Irma and Caitlin Nicole Base. Welcome in. What have they done to it? Cedric said indignantly, stopping dead. The Quidditch pitch was no longer smooth and flat. It looked as though somebody had been building long, low walls all over it, twisting and crisscrossing in every direction. The hedges, said Harry, bending to examine the nearest one. Hello there, called a cheery voice. Ludo Bagman was standing in the middle of the pitch with Crumb and Fleur. Harry and Cedric made their way towards them, climbing over the hedges. Fleur beamed down at Harry as he came near. I added beam down because it just seems like she's always taller than him and looking down, but it just says Fleur beamed at Harry. How did you get that scar? Me? Oh, I was saving a busload of children from, they were teetering on a cliff, and it was going to fall over. And I was in a car, I saw this happening, so I was like, I gotta save these kids. So I ran into the bus, saved a whole bunch of them, and there was just still one kid left over. And just as I was getting it out, the bus slid down, and it was still teeter-tottering, so it slid down, scratched me here, teeter-tottered, scratched me here, and then slid down again. So that's how I got it. I wouldn't say I'm heroic, other people are saying that, but I wouldn't say that, so yeah, that's how I got this scar.
If you're gonna pick a story to tell, how about the one in front of you?
Mark, that's it's really hurtful when somebody asks me a question about my history and I share it.
Oh, we're talking fiction here.
No, it's it's so rude. So rude. Ludo Bagman was standing in the middle of the pitch with Crumb and Fleur. Harry and Cedric made their way towards them, climbing over the hedges. Fleur beamed at Harry as he came nearer. Her attitude to him had changed completely since he had pulled her sister out of the lake. Well, what do you think? Said Bagman happily, as Harry and Cedric climbed over the last hedge. Growing nicely, aren't they? Give them a month and Hagrid will have them 20 foot high. Don't worry, he added, grinning, spotting the less than happy expressions on Harry and Cedric's faces. You'll have your Quidditch pitch back to normal once the task is over. Now, I imagine you can guess what we're making here. No one spoke for a moment. Then, maze, grunted Crumb.
That's right, said Bagman. A maze. The third task's really very straightforward. The Triwizard Cup will be placed in the center of the maze. The first champion to touch it will receive full marks.
We simply have to get through the maze, said Fleur.
Oh, there will be obstacles,
Said Bagman happily, bouncing on the balls of his feet.
Hagrid is providing a number of creatures. Then there will be spells that must be broken.
I just need to read some reactions of Mark. That really happened? That story that came out of your mouth? Yeah, it's because it's true. Thanks, Mark. Well, Team Mark. Why are people in opposition to each other here? That doesn't make much sense. What's going on?
Hagrid is providing a number of creatures. Then there will be spells that must be broken, all that sort of thing, you know. Now, the champions who are leading on points will get a head start into the maze.
Bagman grinned at Harry and Cedric.
Then Mr. Crumb will enter. Then Miss Delacour. But you'll all be in with a fighting chance. Depending how well you get past the obstacles. Should be fun, huh?
Harry, who knew only too well what the kind of creatures that Hagrid was likely to provide for an event like this, though it was unlikely to be any fun at all. However, he nodded politely like the other champions. So he's definitely gonna get tips from Hagrid what's gonna be popping up there. Oh, the music! I forgot the music.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Give me your opinions. Well, no, actually, don't. I like it with the music, so I'm not gonna ask for your opinion. Oh!
Just so engrossed in the world of the story.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
The story is like so, engrossing. That you're right. That's a good word. Engrossing. Where are we? Where were we? Okay, there we go.
Very well, if you haven't got any questions, we'll go back up to the castle, shall we? It's a bit chilly.
Bagman hurried alongside Harry as they began to wend their way out of the growing maze. Harry had the feeling that Bagman was going to start offering to help him again. But just then, Crumb tapped Harry on the shoulder. Could I have a word? Yeah, all right, said Harry, slightly surprised. Will you walk with me? Okay, said Harry curiously. Bagman looked slightly perturbed.
I'll wait for you, Harry. Shall I?
No, it's okay, Mr. Bagman, said Harry, suppressing a smile. I think I can find the castle on my own, thanks. Harry and Crumb left the stadium together, but Crumb did not set a course for the Durmstrang ship. Instead, he walked towards the forest. Let's see here. What are we going this way for? Said Harry, as they passed Hagrid's cabin and the illuminated Beauxbaton's carriage. Don't want to be overheard, said Crumb shortly. When at last they reached a quiet stretch of ground, a short way away from the Beauxbaton's horse's paddock, Crumb stopped in the shade of the trees and turned to face Harry. I want to know, he said, glowering, what there is between you and Hermione. Oh, he's so jealous. He's so jealous. I am totally having comments FOMO. You kidding me? I want to read these now that I mean, it's going to change in a week or two, but I want to read these and I can't. Oh well. Harry, who from Crumb's secretive manner had expected something much more serious than this, stared up at Crumb in amazement. Nothing, he said, but Crumb glowered at him. Glowered? I keep forgetting. Glowered. There we go. And Harry somehow struck anew by how tall Crumb was, elaborated. We're friends. She's not my girlfriend, and she never has been. It's just that Skeeter woman making things up. Hermione talks about you very, very often, said Crumb, looking suspiciously at Harry. Yeah, said Harry, because we're friends. He couldn't quite believe he was having this conversation with Victor Crumb, the famous international Quidditch player. It was as though the 18-year-old Crumb thought he, Harry, was an equal, a real rival. You have not... No, said Harry very firmly. Crumb looked slightly happier. He stared at Harry for a few seconds, then said, "You fly very well. I was watching at the first task." "Thanks," said Harry, grinning broadly, and suddenly feeling much taller himself. "I saw you at the Quidditch World Cup. The wrong ski feint, you really..." But something moved behind Crumb in the trees, and Harry, who had some experience of the sort of thing that lurked in the forest, instinctively grabbed Crumb's arm and pulled around. "What is it?" Harry shook his head, staring at the place where he'd seen movement. Oh, okay, we got a little bit of tense music, so I'm gonna put that tense music on. Is it running? I can't tell. Sure, let's do that. Harry shook his head. Okay. Next moment, a man had staggered out from behind a tall oak. For a moment, Harry didn't recognize him. Then he realized it was Mr. Crouch. Mr. Crouch! Okay. We're definitely still going to keep sassing him, though. "You know, Alana and Lois... You know what? You're both dumb." He looked as though he had been traveling for days. The knees of his robes were ripped and bloody. Ooh! His face was scratched. He was unshaven and gray with exhaustion. His neat hair and mustache were both in need of a wash and trim. His strange appearance, however, was nothing to the way he was behaving, muttering and gesticulating. Mr. Crouch appeared to be talking to someone that he alone could see. Oh, he's got a bit mad. He reminded Harry vividly of an old tramp he had seen once when out shopping with the Dursleys. That man, too, had been conversing wildly with thin air. Aunt Petunia had seized Dudley's hand and pulled him across the road to avoid him. Uncle Vernon had then treated the family to a long rant about what he would like to do with beggars and vagrants. "Wasn't he a judge?" said Crumb, staring at Mr. Crouch. "Isn't he with your ministry?" Harry nodded, hesitated for a moment, then walked slowly towards Mr. Crouch, who did not look at him but continued to talk to a nearby tree. And when you've done that, very posh down here, yeah. And when you've done that, Witherby, send an owl to Dumbledore confirming the number of Dome Strength students who will be attending the tournament. Karkaroff has just sent word that there will be 12. "Mr. Crouch?" said Harry cautiously. And Boo John at 7:01, "Adriel, how dare you! How dare you!" And then send another owl to Madame Maxine because she might want to up the number of students she's bringing. Now Karkaroff's made it a round dozen, and do that, Weatherby. Will you? Mr. Crouch's eyes were bulging. He stood staring at the tree, muttering soundlessly at it. Then he staggered sideways and fell to his knees. "Mr. Crouch," Harry said loudly, "are you all right?" You know what? Let's see how far this goes. I'm still interested in this, so I'm going long again, baby. Going long again.
Yeah.
Let's see some. 11 questions. Nice. Okay, let's see. Any guesses on how Rita researches her articles? How does she research her articles? So the articles have mainly been about Hagrid, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. I think it has something to do with something on their clothing, because it has only been around what Harry has been... Maybe it's the invisibility cloak. Maybe it's like something she planted on it. Or, this is not a premonition. These are guesses, okay? I'll tell you when it's a premonition. Or what else? So maybe it's the invisibility cloak. Maybe it's just one of them. Maybe it's Ron. Maybe it's on Ron. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe Ron's telling her everything.
Yeah, Ron is just betraying them all. Any more thoughts on who puts Harry's name
In the Goblet of Fire! Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Any more thoughts? What did I say last time? What did I say last time? I can't remember anymore. Crouch. I still think it's Crouch.
For what? What was the question?
No, put his name. No, it wasn't Crouch. Who did I say? Ludo Bagman. It's Ludo Bagman. Ludo Bagman put his name in the Goblet of Fire. Premonition! I think it's Ludo. That's my premonition. Okay, what else do we got? Shut up. Music. Do you bathe every day, or do you just change the balt on your face to make it look like you do? I don't bathe. I do not bathe. Most baths are too small for me. I have one, and it's either my full upper body or my full lower body is sticking out. So here's a bit too much information. When I was in Japan and went to an onsen, which are these public baths, you have a seat in front of a mirror and shower yourself. I love that so much, and since I can't relax in baths as much, I bought a little stool for my shower and sit down in it. I just wash this off with soap and water. Is your wall supposed to be like a mugshot background? Oh, yeah, okay, so I haven't explained this yet. This is from a music video I made. It's one scene in a music video, and we were creative with different environments in our house. And so Jamie Crest, she listens in. She was my production designer. She's phenomenal. And she made that for this kind of the usual suspects vibe for a shot. And I just loved it so much that I just left it up. And by the way, don't submit new questions. I'll answer more next time, next round, after this. If you had a Niffler, where in Vancouver would you let it loose? For a gold? There's a competition that happens every year or something like that, where they have clues and an actual treasure hunt. I would just use it for that. Yeah, for sure. Can you stand against your mugshot wall? Is it a question or a request? I could do that. I'm 6'3". That's how tall I am. What is in your whiskey cup? Whiskey, but most specifically Gibson's Finest. Nothing expensive. What is your favorite book? Oh my gosh, I loved reading this book called The Book of Wonderful Things. It's fascinating. It's a sci-fi book, and it's about Earth has made contact with intelligent creatures in outer space, aliens, but they're peaceful creatures, and Earth is finding all these different ways to communicate with them. And the book is about a pastor that they sent to this planet to talk to them about the Bible. And it's this weird concept. It's not written by a Christian author or anything, but it's this weird concept, and it's super interesting. And at the same time, it's about this long distance relationship he's having with his wife on Earth, where everything's crumbling. It is so interesting and fun. It's called The Book of Wonderful Things. I think that's what it's called. I was like really interested in that. Okay, I got 2 minutes remaining. I'm gonna try and get these one. If I don't, just rewrite them for next round. What is your favorite thing to be complimented on? An achievement or an attribute? I think not necessarily an attribute. I think I just like being complimented on what I mean to a person. And those are the kind of compliments I like giving too. If that makes sense. Yeah. How is Hermione going to retaliate against Rita Skeeter? I think she's going to find out how Rita Skeeter is doing it, and is going to reveal some kind of lie that Rita Skeeter is going to report on, that will be proved completely false and embarrass her in front of everybody. I think so.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I think that's what she's going to do. What is the first dream of character on... I'm sorry, I don't know what that means, Tanamika. Maybe ask it again for the next round, yeah? If you could apparate, magically teleport, thanks for the clarification, anywhere in the world, where would you go? Right now, I would probably go to Italy or Japan, 2 places I visited and I just absolutely love. Well, if... you know what I mean, if Corona wasn't happening. Okay, I got 30 seconds remaining. I'm going to log off. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions. Just re-ask them for next round, okay? For this next feed. I'm going to log off, log back in, and then we'll see you here in a second. Welcome back, welcome back.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Thank you, nurses. You are my favorite. You're my favorite.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I think we should do this all the time for healthcare workers and teachers. Thank you. Thank you so much. We love you.
Yeah.
You're the best. Thank you. You know what? One other thing that's kind of sucky about this new Instagram thing that got going on. I can't save it to my live feed, and so I need to save it to my Instagram TV, which I don't want to do because I've barely ever watched anything on Instagram TV, and I don't find it that effective. So the only way you can rewatch it is by going to my YouTube, because I don't want to save it to Instagram TV. I just find it confusing, and you can't really find stuff there and profiles really well. So I'm going to upload these just to YouTube. Unfortunately, you can't watch it 24 hours after anymore. I don't know why they did that. It's so stupid. Anyway, I'll get going. Wait, there's one question. I'll answer this one question. What do you mean you sit in front of a mirror and shower? That image. Okay, this is what happened. Look up Japanese onsen. Onsen are Japanese bathhouses. Men and women are segregated. You get naked and you go to these bathhouses where the different pools of very hot water, and basically pools, saunas, and all that kind of stuff, they have to have a certain amount of minerals to be an onsen, right? So you go into that section, you get completely naked, everybody else is, you sit in front of a shower and shower yourself off. There's like toothbrushes that are one use and you can throw away. There are razors that are one use and throw away. And you have to wash yourself off to be clean before going into these baths. And then afterwards you do the same thing. You're literally sitting in front of yourself naked. So that's what I mean by what you have to do there. It's part of the culture and it's amazing. I love it so much. YouTube is the best part for missed episodes, like being able to pause and come back. Yeah, that's great, Heather. Heather is a good friend from university. And you just got a puppy. John, tell us more about what you like about it. About what? Showering in front of the mirror? No, I will not. But it's so good. It's so good. Showering in front of the mirror is the best thing ever. All right, let's keep going, shall we? Oh, wait. Not this one. We got the creeper music going on. We got the creeper music going on. Okay, let's keep going. Crouch's eyes were rolling in his head. Okay, we're off to a start here. Harry looked around at Crumb, who had followed him into the trees, and was like looking down at Crouch in alarm. What is wrong with him? No idea, Harry muttered. Listen, you'd better go and get someone. Dumbledore! Gasped Mr. Crouch. He reached out and seized a handful of Harry's robes, dragging him closer, though his eyes were staring over Harry's head. See, Dumbledore. Okay, said Harry. If you get up, Mr. Crouch, we can go up to the... I've done... stupid... thing, Mr. Crouch breathed. He looked utterly mad. His eyes were rolling and bulging, and a trickle of spittle was sliding down his chin. Bleh.
The question is still on the screen.
Oh. Did you see that? Did you see that, Mark?
No.
It was actually perfect. It was a perfect dribble.
Oh.
Every word he spoke seemed to cost him terrible effort. Must tell Dumbledore. Get up, Mr. Crouch, said Harry loudly and clearly. Get up! I'll take you to Dumbledore. You're disgusting. Yeah, so what? So are all of you. You just don't show it. Mr. Crouch's eyes rolled forwards onto Harry. Who? You, he whispered. I'm a student at the school, said Harry, looking around at Crumb for some help. But Crumb was hanging back, looking extremely nervous. You're not... his? Whispered Crouch, his mouth sagging. No, said Harry, without the faintest idea what Crouch was talking about. Dumbledore's. That's right, said Harry. Crouch was pulling him closer. Harry tried to loosen Crouch's grip on his robes, but it was too powerful. Lon, Dumbledore. I'll get Dumbledore if you let go of me, said Harry. Just let go, Mr. Crouch, and I'll go get him. Who's saying this?
Thank you, Weatherby. And when you have done that, I would like a cup of tea. My wife and son will be arriving shortly. We are attending a concert tonight with Mr. and Mrs. Fudge.
Crouch was not talking fluently to a tree again, and seemed completely unaware that Harry was there. This is crazy. Which surprised Harry so much he didn't notice that Crouch had released him.
Yes, my son has recently gained 12 owls. Most satisfactory, yes. Thank you, yes. Very proud indeed. Now, if you could bring me that memo from the Underin Ministry for Magic, I think I will have time to draft a response.
You stay here with him, Harry said to Crumb. I'll get Dumbledore. I'll be quick. I know where his office is.
He is mad,
said Crumb doubtfully, staring down at Crouch, who was still gabbling to the tree, apparently convinced it was Percy. Just stay with him, said Harry, starting to get up, but his movement seemed to trigger another abrupt change in Mr. Crouch, who seized him hard around the knees and pulled Harry back to the ground.
Don't leave me,
he whispered, his eyes bulging again.
I escaped. Must warn, must tell. See Dumbledore.
My fault. All my fault. Bertha. Dead. All my fault. My son. My fault.
Tell Dumbledore. Harry Potter. Dark Lord. Stronger. Harry Potter.
I'll get Dumbledore if you let me go, Mr. Crouch, said Harry. He looked furiously around at Crumb. Help me, will you? Looking extremely apprehensive. Crumb moved forward and squatted down next to Mr. Crouch. Just keep him here, said Harry, pulling himself free of Mr. Crouch. I'll be back with Dumbledore.
Hurry, won't you?
Crumb called after him as Harry sprinted away from the forest and up through the dark grounds. They were deserted. Bagman, Cedric, and Fleur had disappeared. Harry tore up the stone steps, through the oak front doors, and off the marble staircase, up towards the second floor. I don't know what has happened to Crumb. I don't know what he has got into. So he was searching around. He's probably been a little bit of a madman this whole time, searching Snape's office. He was probably mad at that point too. That's what I'm guessing.
You mean Crouch, not Crumb.
Crouch, sorry. Crouch has been mad the whole time and was like searching around Snape's office. I don't know what has made him mad though, because the last thing that happened was the Death Eaters and the Dark Mark and him accusing... not getting mad at other people accusing him about Winky or feigning madness. Crouch, yes, thank you. So I don't know what has made him so mad right now. Maybe it goes all the way back to the first chapter with Voldemort. It's part of his plan. Maybe Voldemort is using obsession. Maybe Voldemort uses the weakest parts of a person's characters, or the flaws of people's characters to break them. Maybe. He was at the first task. Yeah, he was. But after that was when the whole Death Eater Dark Mark thing happened. Okay, let's keep going. Cedric and Fleur had disappeared. Harry tore up the stone steps through the oak front doors and off up the marble staircase towards the second floor. 5 minutes later, he was hurtling towards a stone gargoyle standing halfway along an empty corridor. Sherbet lemon, he panted at it. This was the password to the hidden staircase to Dumbledore's office, or at least it had been 2 years ago. The password had evidently changed, however, for the stone gargoyle did not spring to life and jump aside, but stood frozen, glaring at Harry malevolently. No, Dark Mark was at the Quidditch Cup. But it was after the Quidditch Cup. It happened in the forest at night, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It wasn't before that. Move! Harry shouted at it. Come on! But nothing at Hogwarts had ever moved just because he shouted at it. He knew it was no good. He looked... Oh, there he is again. He's back. He looked up and down the dark corridor. Perhaps Dumbledore was in the staff room? He started running as fast as he could towards the staircase.
Potter!
Harry skidded to a halt and looked around. I always have to skim ahead a sentence or two to know who's shouting. Snape had just emerged from the hidden staircase behind the stone gargoyle. The wall was sliding shut behind him, even as he beckoned Harry back towards him. The Quidditch Cup happened at the very... Yes, I know. Yeah.
What are you doing here, Potter?
I need to see Professor Dumbledore, said Harry, running back up the corridor and skidding to a standstill in front of Snape instead. It's Mr. Crouch. He just turned up. He's in the forest. He's asking...
What is this rubbish?
Said Snape, his black eyes glittering.
What are you talking about?
Mr. Crouch, Harry shouted, from the Ministry. He's ill or something. He's in the forest. He wants to see Dumbledore. Just give me the password up to...
The headmaster is busy, Potter,
said Snape, his thin mouth curling into an unpleasant smile. I've got to tell Dumbledore, Harry yelled.
Didn't you hear me, Potter?
Harry could tell Snape was thoroughly enjoying himself, denying Harry the thing he wanted when he was so panicky. Look, said Harry angrily. Crouch isn't right. He's out of his mind. He says he wants to warn... The stone wall behind Snape slid open. Dumbledore was standing there, wearing long green robes and a mildly curious expression.
Is there a problem?
He said, looking between Harry and Snape. Professor, Harry said, sidestepping Snape before Snape could speak. Mr. Crouch is here. He's down in the forest. He wants to speak to you. Harry expected Dumbledore to ask questions, but, to his relief, we saw Crouch at the first task at Hogwarts. We're letting to know we saw Crouch one more time after you said we did. Yeah, but the... Yes, I know, but the first task... Wait, he wasn't at the first task, was he?
Yeah.
What was the first task again?
The first task was the dragon.
And Mr. Crouch was there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, thank you. That clarifies a little bit. Okay. Harry expected Dumbledore to ask questions, but to his relief, Dumbledore did nothing of the sort.
Lead the way,
he said promptly, and he swept off along the corridor behind Harry, leaving Snape standing next to the gargoyle and looking twice as ugly.
What did Mr. Crouch say, Harry?
Said Dumbledore, as they walked swiftly down the marble staircase. Said he wants to warn you. Said he's done something terrible. He mentioned his son, and Bertha Jonkins, and Voldemort. Something about Voldemort getting stronger.
Indeed,
said Dumbledore, and he quickened his pace as they hurried out into the pitch darkness. He's not acting normally, Harry said, hurrying along beside Dumbledore. He doesn't seem to know where he is. He keeps talking like he thinks Percy Weasley's there, and then he changes it and says he needs to see you. I left him with Victor Crumb.
You did,
said Dumbledore sharply, and he began to take longer strides still, so that Harry was running to keep up.
Do you know if anybody else saw Mr. Crouch?
No, said Harry. Crumb and I were talking. Mr. Bagman had just finished telling us about the third task. We stayed behind, and then we saw Mr. Crouch coming out of the forest.
Where are they?
Said Dumbledore, as the Beauxbatons' carriage emerged from the darkness. All done with that. Over here, said Harry, moving in front of Dumbledore, leading the way through the trees. He couldn't hear Crouch's voice anymore, but he knew where he was going. It hadn't been much past the Beauxbatons' carriage. Somewhere around here. Victor! Harry shouted. No one answered. They were here, Harry said to Dumbledore. They were definitely somewhere around here.
Lumos!
Dumbledore said, lighting his wand and holding it up. Its narrow beam traveled from black trunk to black trunk, illuminating the ground, and then it fell upon a pair of feet. Harry and Dumbledore hurried forwards. Crumb was sprawled on the forest floor. Eesh. He seemed to be unconscious. There was no sign at all of Mr. Crouch. Dumbledore bent over Crumb and gently lifted one of his eyelids. Stunned, he said softly, his half-moon glasses glittering in the wand light as he peered around at the surrounding trees. Should I go and get someone? Said Harry. Madame Pomfrey?
No,
said Dumbledore swiftly.
Stay here.
He raised his wand into the air and pointed it in the direction of Hagrid's cabin. Harry saw something silvery dart out of it and streak away through the trees like a ghostly bird. Yeesh. Then Dumbledore bent over Crumb again, pointed his wand at him and muttered, "Innovate!" Crumb opened his eyes. He looked dazed. When he saw Dumbledore, he tried to sit up, but Dumbledore put a hand on his shoulder and made him lie still. "He attacked me!" Crumb muttered, putting a hand up to his head. "The old madman attacked me. I was looking around to see where Potter had gone, and he attacked me from behind."
"Lie still for a moment,"
Dumbledore said. The sound of thunderous footfalls reached them, and Hagrid came panting into sight with Fang at his heels. He was carrying his crossbow.
"Professor Dumbledore,"
he said, his eyes widening.
"Hurry! What the... Hagrid, I need you to fetch Professor Karkaroff," said Dumbledore. "His student has been attacked. When you've done that, kindly alert Professor Moody."
Who's saying this? Oh, Moody.
No need, Dumbledore," said a wheezy growl. "I'm here."
He's just suddenly
That
there.
guy just like, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Moody was limping towards them. How did he know? Oh, he had the map. He has the map. That's how he knew. Okay, a small suspicion is popping up for me here then. If he knew, maybe he was the one who knocked Crumb out and took Crouch. A little suspicion. Moody was limping towards them, leaning on his staff, his wand lit.
"Damn leg," he said furiously. Would have been here quicker. What's happened? Snape said something about Crouch." "Crouch,"
said Hagrid blankly.
"Karkaroff, please, Hagrid,"
said Dumbledore sharply.
"Oh yeah, right you are, Professor,"
said Hagrid, and he turned and disappeared into the dark trees, Fang trotting after him.
"I don't know where Barty Crouch is,"
Dumbledore told Moody.
"but it is essential that we find him." "I'm on to it,"
growled Moody, and he pulled out his wand and limped off into the forest. Neither Dumbledore nor Harry spoke again until they heard the unmistakable... a premonition. Yeah, it's different than a premonition. Thanks, Tash. It's a premonition. No. If it's a big one, it's a premonition. This is a premonition, where I'm allowed to be wrong.
So premonitions, you're not allowed to be wrong. That's why
No,
you
premonition's
say-
always like, I know I'm right and I will be right and I always am right. Like, according to the videos, if you've watched the past tapings. Premonition is me just, thinking about things and ruminating on it.
Yeah, I really wonder how much time we've spent talking about this over the last couple of weeks.
If you don't like it, don't come. Okay. Where are we? Harry spoke. Neither Dumbledore nor Harry spoke again until they heard the unmistakable sounds of Hagrid and Fang returning. Karkaroff was hurrying along behind them. He was wearing his sleek silver furs, and he looked pale and agitated. "What is this?" he cried when he saw Crumb on the ground, and Dumbledore and Harry beside him. "What's going on?" "I was attacked," said Crumb. I was attacked," said Crumb, sitting up now and rubbing his head. "Mr. Crouch, or whatever his name." "Crouch attacked you. Crouch attacked you. The Triwizard Judge."
"Igor,"
Dumbledore began, but Karkaroff had drawn himself up, clutching his furs around him, looking livid. "Treachery!" he bellowed, pointing at Dumbledore. "It is a plot! You and your Ministry of Magic have lured me here under false pretenses, Dumbledore! This is not an equal competition. First, you sneak Potter into the tournament, though he is underage. Now one of your ministry friends attempts to put my champion out of action. I smell double dealing and corruption in this whole affair, and you, Dumbledore, you...
You... You, with your talk of closer international wizarding links, of rebuilding old ties, of forgetting old differences. Here's what I think of you! Karkaroff spat onto the ground at Dumbledore's feet. That is such disrespect. I feel like I want to smack him up right, left, right, and center. In one swift movement, Hagrid seized the front of Karkaroff's furs, hell yeah, lifted him into the air and slammed him against a nearby tree. Yes, Hagrid!
Apologize!
Hagrid snarled as Karkaroff gasped for breath. Hagrid's massive fist at his throat, his feet dangling in midair.
Hagrid, no!
Dumbledore shouted, his eyes flashing. Hagrid removed the hand pinning Karkaroff to the tree, and Karkaroff slid all the way down the trunk and slumped into a huddle at its roots, a few twigs and leaves showering down upon his head.
Kindly escort Harry back up to the castle, Hagrid,
said Dumbledore sharply. Breathing heavily, I need some water. He grasped for bread. Breathing heavily, Hagrid gave Karkaroff a glowering look.
Maybe I'd better stay here, Headmaster. You will take Harry back to the school, Hagrid,
Dumbledore repeated firmly.
Take him right up to Gryffindor Tower. And Harry, I want you to stay here. And if anything you might want to do, any owls you might want to send, they can wait until morning. Do you understand me?
Yes, said Harry, staring at him. How had Dumbledore known that? At that very moment, he'd been thinking about sending Pigwidgeon straight to Sirius to tell him what had happened. Reading minds. Constantly grasping for bread. Especially when you're pinned. Especially when we've just got into a fight. Like,
I need some bread. Anybody got some carbs? I need to refill my energy. Bread, anybody?
Okay, let's keep going.
I'll live.
Actually, breathing that hard made me lightheaded once again. I shouldn't breathe that hard so often. It just made me lightheaded again. Whew! My glasses came off, so what? They marched in... Oh, wait.
I'll leave Fan with you, Headmaster,
Hagrid said, still staring menacingly at Karkaroff, who was still sprawled at the foot of the tree, tangled in furs and tree roots.
Stay, Fang. Come on, Harry.
They marched in silence past the Beauxbatons' carriage and up towards the castle.
How dare he?
Hagrid growled as they strode past the lake.
How dare he accuse Dumbledore? Let Dumbledore do anything like that. Let Dumbledore wanted you in the tournament in the first place. Worried! I don't know when I seen Dumbledore more worried than he's been lately. And you,
Hagrid suddenly said angrily to Harry, who looked up at him, taken aback.
What were you doing, wandering off with Roddy Crumb? He's from Durmstrang, Harry. Could have jinxed you right there, couldn't he? Hasn't Moody taught you nothing? Imagine letting him lure you off on your own.
Crumb's all right, said Harry, as they climbed the steps into the entrance hall. He wasn't trying to jinx me. He just wanted to talk about Hermione.
I'll be having a few words with her and all, said Hagrid grimly, stomping up the stairs. The less you lot have to do with these foreigners, the happier you'll be. You can't trust any of them.
Okay then. You were getting on all right with Madame Maxine, said Harry, annoyed.
Don't you talk to me about her, said Hagrid, and
he looked quite frightening for a moment.
I've got her number now. Trying to get back me in me good books. Trying to get me to tell her what's coming in the third task. Ha! You can't trust any of them.
Hagrid was in such a bad mood. Harry was quite glad to say goodbye to him in front of the fat lady. He clambered through the portrait hole into the common room and hurried straight for the corner where Ron and Hermione were sitting to tell them what had happened. End of chapter. Hagrid can get scary.
He can get very scary. Wow, xenophobia. I forget what that word means.
He's afraid of foreigners.
Oh yeah, a little bit, hey? Well, yeah. After the world opens up again, will you have a meetup? With everybody? Yeah, I'll be meeting up so many people. Or do you mean like specifically this group? I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I don't know. That's my answer. What's your favorite whiskey? Spice box. It almost doesn't taste like you're drinking whiskey at all. It's just sweet whiskey. I love it. Standing against your wall was meant as a quest. Oh, a question. What? I don't know. Quest? I don't know what that means. Let's see what else we got. Okay, that's all for questions. Unless somebody else wants to write some. Yeah, Spicebox is dangerous. All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in again. For those on Patreon, I know I'm a bit late. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do setting up all this amongst other work things I have to do. At least mandatory Zoom sessions that I'm not getting paid for. Not really mandatory either. But yeah, I'm trying to build stuff up. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm going to get this in at a consistent time, reading other books and short stories. I'm sorry I'm late on that, but I'll get that going. Thanks, this was great tonight. Thank you, Anita. And thank you for your great gifts. Sent this along. Little Dobby. Yeah, check out my the link in my bio for those on Instagram. I'm not going to be, I can't save these on Instagram anymore except for the Instagram TV, which I don't want to do. I don't like Instagram TV. So saving it on my YouTube if you want to catch up. But how would you know that if you're not watching this currently? So maybe I should just do an Insta story about it. Brill, thank you. Thank you, Jenny Copes. I'm glad you're tuning in. Oh, here's another question. Oh, 2 questions. Am I just unobservant or did the glasses fall off? They fell off about, 2 minutes ago. Would you consider changing up your stream time? Yes, I've thought about that, and I'll continue thinking about that, depending, because I know there's people tuning in from all around the world, so I'll be considering it. I'm going to be looking into it. For now, I'm focused on getting this whole setup happening, and then I'll consider stream times. Maybe I'll keep it where it's at. Maybe I'll change it. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Can't believe how much of these books I've forgotten about. Yeah, I bet. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow again at 6 p.m. Bye-bye.